Kérem vigyázzanak, az ajtók záródnak.
Tourists call Budapest a 3-day city. In 3 days you can see Parliament and the Basilica, go up the hill to the castle and Fisherman's Bastion, lounge in a spa, have a goulash and buy a fridge magnet, and you can say that you have done Budapest. Obviously Vitaly and I were not so superficial, but we did come to Hungary with another stupid, not to say arrogant, attitude. Because we came from Russia with its vast territory stretching over 11 time zones and its dramatic history and broad soul, ha-ha, we looked down on Hungary as being rather small. We saw its concerns as being a bit petty. Shame on us. We were no better than the Soviets, who saw the subjects of their empire as little brothers. It took a sparrow to teach me how to start seeing Hungary through a different lens. I was sitting at the tram stop at Szalóczy, the old Moscow square, when I noticed on a low wall a tiny life-size sculpture of a sparrow. It was in complete contrast to the heroic statues and memorials of earlier times. The artist had seen the beauty in a sparrow and thought it worth casting this humble bird in bronze. Yes, if I was going to understand Hungary, I was going to have to get to know, as Arundhati Roy put it, the god of small things. Hungary was not always small, of course. The beautiful old buildings in Budapest, the coffee houses and charming manners of people who still say "Kezed csokolom," I kiss your hand, reminded us that we were living in what was the Austro-Hungarian Empire. On the wrong side of the First World War, Hungary was truncated by the Treaty of Trianon in 1920. On the wrong side of the Second World War, it was made to live inside its much smaller borders. Hungary lost 2/3 of its territory, much of its population and its sea coast. I knew many Hungarians still felt a phantom pain from that amputation. Other Hungarians I knew were scarred by a different trauma, the Holocaust, in which some Hungarians were complicit with the Nazis. Jews were lined up along the bank of the Danube to be shot. I read that in order to economise on bullets, the killers tied groups of Jews together. They shot one, knowing that when the victim fell into the river, he or she would drag the other bound victims down too. Words fail. Certainly big and terrible events happened here. Perhaps it might have been better if the events had been smaller and more ordinary. In a village just outside Budapest, it was brought home to me what dramas unfolded on streets that today appear bourgeois and sleepy. "It happened outside this house," said my friend. "My grandmother was taken by soldiers of the Red Army. They were going to shoot her for helping the Nazis. Luckily, her neighbour was a Slovak. She spoke Slovak to the Russians and told them my grandmother was innocent. The Russians let her go. And then, of course, there was 1956, when the Hungarians were completely clobbered for their attempt to break free from Soviet rule. After that, was it any wonder that they got a reputation for being depressive, even suicidal, and hopelessly conformist? One man in particular helped me to understand the Hungarian psyche. Bishop Miklos Beer, the former bishop of Vats, was giving me an interview about refugees. He had accommodated some refugees at his bishopric. But he explained why some members of his congregation were less welcoming towards migrants. Hungarians have been through so much, he said. Now their attitude is, just leave us alone and let us live our lives the way we want to. And so they do. The Hungarians dig their gardens and tend their tomatoes, go to church and mark the saints' days, decamp to Balaton for their holidays, speak softly to their children and treasure their families. And why not? In some cases, they vote for Fidesz, buying the line that it is now Brussels that threatens their traditional way of life and the sovereignty of Hungary. Each country is where it is because of its experience of the past. Brexit Britain, still hankering over old trade ties with New Zealand, and aggressive Russia, even now pursuing an imperial war in Ukraine, could perhaps learn from Hungary, which was cut down to size earlier and made to see its place in the modern world. We get the politicians we deserve, but whenever we are not satisfied with our choices, we can always choose again. Which was why, when Vitaly and I, as permanent residents of Hungary, got the chance to vote in the European and local elections, we decided to do our civic duty and go to the polls. We dressed in our best clothes, as if we were going to church. I had a new leopard skin print skirt and an orange t-shirt. As I walked down the street, seeing a number of men in orange ties, it struck me that perhaps I was giving out the wrong signal by wearing orange. We entered the polling station in our neighbourhood school. The queue was short and orderly, and the officials made no attempt to buy our vote with sandwiches and vodka, as might have happened in Russia. We just went behind the curtain and marked our ballot papers. For the European Parliament, we voted for a party led by a man whose name in Hungarian means Hungarian. For Budapest, like Turkey's, we voted for the man whose name means Christmas. When the results were finalised, it turned out that Mr. Christmas had won by the narrowest of margins. We had helped to swing the vote, and it made us feel as if our little voices mattered.
This train terminates here. Goodbye.